This is going to be kind of just a quick reaction to the Ravens schedule release that happened earlier today, Thursday. Look, this is not nearly the type of schedule that some of us perceived when we finished 8 and 9. Am I saying that, there's 10 losses here? No. Am I saying that there's not 10 or 12 or 13 wins here? No. There are. There absolutely are, depending on how this team comes out and performs. I'm going to kind of focus in on the first 4 games, to be honest with you. I always like to like to think about putting yourself in position to succeed, whether it's a particular play, a game, a season, or in this case, a package of 4 games. Look at it. Going into that Week 5 game against the Bengals, to me, we have to be 2-2 or better. And for some of you, you may say, Coach, what are you talking about? We should be 3-1 or 4-0. I mean, you can say what you want, but there have been multiple seasons recently, going back to 2018, where we did not start out great. And I don't remember the specific years. I know that in 2019, I believe we were 2-2 at one point. 2018, I don't exactly remember. But my point is, if we can get out of there 2-2 and then figure out a way to win the Bengals game. But we have to be at least 2-2, if you ask me, to avert a real catastrophe if we were to, for whatever reason, lose the home game against the Bengals in Week 5. And because if we're not 2-2 going into that game, a loss to that Bengals team could become catastrophic. And some of you are like, man, coach has got a really negative outlook on this. I don't. I think we absolutely can go 3-1. We could go 4-0 through 4 games. But the Jets are not going to be a pushover. I mean, don't front. I would not compare them to the Raiders last season specifically, but I would say they're drastically improved as a team, particularly defensively. Still have C.J. Mosley, still have Quinnen Williams, added Jermaine Johnson. Now apparently they're playing a 4-3, so I'm not sure how that fits for Jermaine Johnson. They've got Ahmad Gardner. That's going to be a hell of a matchup between Ahmad Gardner and our receivers. I am incredibly interested in that matchup. I do not think that we are just automatically going to walk in there to New York and just bust their ass. Offensively, do they appear to be a juggernaut? Well, I mean, no. They did draft Breece Hall. They got Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman. They've got Fort Hill's Ty Johnson, if you're from Maryland. He was a hell of a player in high school and at the University of Maryland. Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson at receiver. A couple other guys, pretty good players. Don't get me wrong. There's not as much talent on the offensive side as there clearly is on the defensive side for the Jets. I'm very interested in that game. It's going to be fun on the road, and it sets up a huge matchup in Week 2, a rematch with the Dolphins, who, clearly they're kind of giving away their intentions a little bit with signing so many running backs. They've got Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, who's, often got injury problems, but he's still talented. If you don't remember what he did in 2019 in Baltimore, when we had our great team and we only beat them 24-17, Raheem Mostert dominated stretches of that game. They got Sony Michel and then Myles Gaskin. They appear to be an 11 personnel team to me, and stacking those running backs together does not look, it looks more similar to the style of offense that the 49ers ran, which of course, McDaniel was in charge of this past year. So interesting matchup. We know about that defense and how physical and fast they are. We owe them one. Going up to New York and winning in Week 1 sets us up for a really great start if we're able to beat the Dolphins in Week 2. And by no means am I, assuming that we're going to do either one of those things. They're certainly very winnable games. And I think it would be in our best interest to come out of there 2-0 if possible. Because going to New England in Week 3 is just going to be a hell of a task. I don't care what year it is. I don't care what their personnel is. It's going to be a tough task to go in there and beat New England. I don't know what defense they'll be playing. Some people have indicated they'll be playing a 4-3. They will play good defense. I don't care whether they're 3-4, 4-3, whatever. Offensively, don't appear to have overwhelming talent. Tyquan Thornton was one of their draft picks. They picked up Devontae Parker. We know that they can run the ball well. I'm interested to see what happens with their offense. Now that their offense coordinator has moved on to be the head coach of the Raiders. And then obviously the Week 4 matchup against the Bills. Huge, huge game. I don't think it's an easy schedule in the beginning at all. Am I saying that I think the Ravens are going to come out of there 2-3? No, I don't. But worst case scenario, 2-3, we could still recover from that over the course of the season. The week 7 and 8 turnaround, man, is this eerily reminiscent of last year or not? I don't know another way to. It's the second year in a row where we'll play in Baltimore on a Sunday and have to play in Florida 4 days later. Now that happens to many teams in the NFL, so not I don't have a victim complex. I'm not complaining. I'm just the scenario is similar if you ask me. That's a loss waiting to happen at Tampa Bay. Not saying that we can't compete with them. I mean, who knows? There could be some real drop off in their team for some reason. Brady is at some point he's going to be too old to be able to sit back there 7 yards deep and throw the football. Right? It's got to happen at some point. Hopefully Lamar doesn't have to go Superman mode against the Browns in Week 7, wear himself out, and then not be able to perform great. 4 days later in Florida. If you don't remember, last year against Minnesota, he played 98 snaps, threw for 266, 3 touchdowns, ran for another 120 in the same game. It was like all Lamar. Like I said, playing 98 snaps, and we needed every bit of that just to squeak by Minnesota. Then we go to Miami and stink up the place. And that was on a Thursday. From there, Lamar flies to Louisville, I believe the next day, if memory serves, and has his jersey retired in Kentucky on Saturday. Obviously, at some point, has to come back to Maryland to prepare for the game next week. Shouldn't be any surprise that he was sick and unable to play against the Bears on the road in, I think, Week 11. That much travel, that many. To me, the real, besides the travel and the flights, and I don't know if you've taken a lot of flights in your life. I have. They can take something out of you. It's the different weather patterns. Maryland to Florida, and then Louisville. And as I remember the pictures from that day, it was kind of cold there, and I could be wrong. But it shouldn't be any surprise that he was sick, and I'm certainly not saying it was his fault. I'm glad he was able to experience that. Hopefully we as an organization handle that turnaround better. Better than we did, last year. And then if you ask me, the last point I'll make here, because I want this to be short, to be honest with you. Week 11 to Week 16, I'll probably have a little bit of a, maybe not controversial, but an outlier opinion on this. I think 11 to 16, of course there are 2 road games in there, division road games, at the Steelers, at the Browns. I think that sets up kind of like late 2020, when the Ravens, I believe, after our loss to the Steelers, kind of went on a run. We beat the Giants, the Jaguars. I want to say the Bengals were in there as well. Of course, that was a drastically different Bengals team. Am I saying that Week 11 through 16, we're going to be 6-0? Well, no, but we definitely could be 5-1 through that 6-game stretch. And that's projecting, a healthy roster. The offensive line is up to par, up to what we think it could be. Because let's be honest, all of the record projections that we're all doing, including myself, if our offensive line is crap like 2021, that goes out the window. It does. It just goes out the window. All other things not even being considered. If our offensive line isn't very good, there's some teams on this schedule we're going to really struggle to beat. Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, who's got a really young, talented defense. I mean, even the first 4 games. The AFC East. For years, that was the weaker division. You had the Patriots, essentially gaining home field advantage every year because they went 6-0 in the division. It's a totally different division now. I would like to say to you that we're going to be 3-1 in that first 4-game stretch, and we're going to be 5-1 in Week 11 to 16. So if you take those 2 stretches and you combine them, 3-1, 5-1, we're 8-2. So now from the remaining 7 games, got to try to find a way to get 3 or maybe 4 more wins to get to 12 would be amazing if you ask me. I'm not going to sit here and try to project every one just to try to get views. I am very interested in the schedule from the standpoint of us playing the AFC East 4 consecutive weeks and then opening with the Bengals. And even though that Week 6 game against the Giants looks like it looks like a letdown a little bit, it is on the road. And we have to see how we respond to playing in the New York metropolitan area in Week 1 against the Jets before we can kind of predict how we'll play Week 6 against the Giants. Let me know what you think. I know that Twitter and social media are alive today with projections and all that stuff. I mean, I can't project a schedule, a result, to a T. I can give you a range. I think at minimum I see 10 wins here. I do. Unless we do some things really poorly, unless the offensive line is no good. I'm going to go off the assumption that our offensive line is going to be very good. And when I say very good, I mean better than 2020, not dog shit like 2021. Better than 2020, and maybe not, to the level of 2019. Now, if we get that type of offensive line play, 2019 type of offensive line play, with what we have defensively, I see 12 wins here, maybe 13. Call me crazy. And if you're a fan of another team and you're in here, feel free to let loose on me and tell me, hey, dude, you're living in fantasy land. I don't see the 12, 13 wins here. There's no problem with that. But we're all doing that today, right? We see the schedule release for our teams, and we're projecting things. I know it will be fun as I don't know what to go to a game, and I see people on social media like projecting going to a games. I have so much fun making content and doing reaction videos. This is going to sound kind of crazy. Probably only the hardcore people have listened this long, so maybe you'll get it. I actually like staying home watching the game and charting my plays and having my data done to do a reaction video an hour and a half later. Call me crazy. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts here. I think the most important stretch is that first 4 games. Being 3-1 coming out of that is wonderful. You're on the good foot to start. Being 2-2 is not great, but at least you can still get a win against the Bengals and be 1-0 in the division, with that rematch happening in Cincinnati way back in Week 18. Let me know what you think of my thoughts in the video. I appreciate you guys' time, and I will focus on the Week 7, 8, 9 stretch, those games at home against the Browns, at Tampa Bay 4 days later, and then at the Saints, I think 11 days after that, maybe 12. I will do another follow-up video in the next couple of days talking about those and comparing them to the Minnesota, Miami, Chicago turnaround from last year, because I see a lot of parallels. Appreciate you guys' time.